That's right. One of you is marked for death. And first thing tomorrow morning, the chosen one will experience nature's wrath in all its fury. Who are you?
I'm Beth.
Are you here for the feeding?
Excuse me?
You're early. It's not till tomorrow.
This is the Dave and Creech Show, the only podcast where podcaster CJ Creech and actor Dave Sheridan come together to talk all things entertainment with your favorite entertainers. Want to ask our guests a question? Tweet them to @DaveSheridan or @CJCNOV88, and they may be asked to our guests live on the show. We do have to ask you stay seated during the podcast because this ride may get a little bit hilarious. Now here's your hosts, Dave and Creech.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dave and Creech Show. This is episode 50. We are now 2 episodes away from a full year of episodes from our podcast. I'm Creech. We are unfortunately not joined by Dave Sheridan today due to some housework he's got to get done. And by housework, I mean the house that he's been talking about building ever since we started this podcast. He's nearing completion, but it's getting pretty crazy and busy for him. So I brought in a special guest, somebody who's never co-hosted a podcast ever, but is honestly a better interviewer than I am, if I may say so myself. Probably gives Dave a run for his money as well. And I guess I'll just go ahead and introduce it. It's actually my 5-year-old daughter, Lexi. Why don't you say hey, Lexi?
Hey.
Now, this is the first time you are on the Dave and Creech Show, so I guess technically it's not really the Dave and Creech Show today. It's more like the Lexi and Daddy Show, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go ahead and get into the podcast. Once again, guys, thanks for joining us. It's going to be a great episode. We've got an interview with Tom Green promoting his upcoming horror film, Bethany. And we're just going to chat all sorts of life and fun and everything with Lexi here today. And so, like I said, let's go ahead and get to it. So, Lexi, how have you been?
Good.
Good. You just going to give me one answers all night? This is going to be a really long podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how have you been other than good? What have you been doing?
Nothing, just playing with my tablet and my toys.
Playing with your tablet and your toys. Well, this is your first time being on this podcast. There's people all around the world listening. What kind of games do you play on your tablet? What kind of toys do you like? The world wants to know.
Well, I like strawberry shortcake cake, and my favorite toys to play with is my Umi car and my favorite Team Umi Zumi figures.
You say that, but I literally never see you play with any of those. It's always Shopkins or My Little Pony, Monster High. You were just telling big fibs. Okay, well, you're still silent. I'm going to go ahead and go into the next thing.
My favorite blanket is my poo blanket because it's so cold and furry.
Wait, isn't a blanket supposed to be warm?
Well, when it gets cold, the blanket turns cold.
Well, that sounds like a horrible blanket.
And my blanket's so furry and soft.
And you've also had it since you were born. I can't separate you from that thing.
No, I can't even leave it nowhere.
I know you can't leave it nowhere. But we're going to go ahead and talk some news, I guess, as you will. One thing pertaining to you that I was going to bring up with Dave, but we can bring it up with you. Me and you've already talked about this. Obviously, you have a pretty successful interview series yourself. I mean, you've interviewed Kari Payton, who played Cyborg and King Ezekiel in The Walking Dead, Alana Masterson, Xander Berkeley. You've interviewed all these people, some that I haven't even been able to get a chance to interview yet. And you're going to be doing more interviews soon, which is pretty impressive. But you had your first brush with a hater on the internet a week ago. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, that was so stupid.
It was stupid. And for those who don't know, I believe it's on her interview with Kyla Kennedy. There was a commenter, a troll, who commented on her video that she was annoying and that he wanted to punch her in the face. Which is just really a mean thing to say, whether it's a 5-year-old or an adult. But Lexi here found out just how much... I don't want to say lovers because that sounds weird, but how much strong support she has when everybody came to her events. They shut that troll down. She actually got to spend the evening last week with a bunch of pro wrestlers who said they would beat the person up if they ever saw him. And she did a little video with one of them called John Schuyler. I know it's John Schuyler. And who I'm assuming is now her new crush.
No.
I think it is.
He's telling fibs.
I'm not telling fibs. If you could see her right now, ladies and gentlemen, you would be seeing my 5-year-old turning redder than an apple. And now she's turned her head away from me. But, yeah, I think she has a little crush on Mr. John Schuyler now.
No! Don't listen to him.
But she has been doing fantastic interviews. Now, what I want to know is, out of all the interviews you've done, now, some of them are still yet to be released, what is your favorite highlights of doing the interviews? Like, who'd you like interviewing the most?
Kyla Kennedy and Cyborg.
Okay, so Kyla Kennedy and Kari Payton. Well, of course you'd like interviewing Cyborg. I mean, you watch Teen Titans Go almost the entire day, every day. So, of course you do like that one. Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I'm going to be a wrestler.
You're going to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, like Paige.
Well, let's hope you do the wrestling part like Paige and not so much the personal life like Paige, unfortunately, has been going with in the news recently. Thankfully, you don't know about that, and we're not going to get into too much detail on that. But yes, just you can do the wrestling part of Paige, but let's just keep Paige's personal life separate when you become a female wrestler.
And my favorite cartoons are Gumball and Teen Titans Go. And my favorite cartoon shows are The Page Master and Secret Life of Pets.
Well, those aren't shows, those are movies. But point taken. Now, what else have you been doing? I mean, you usually, what most people don't know is usually when I'm podcasting with Dave, it's me with headphones on and Lexi somewhere playing with toys, trying not to make any noise, because she's really noisy. But now, how does it feel like to actually be a part of the podcast? Is that kind of exciting or interesting, a little bit different?
Yeah, it feels amazing.
Feels amazing. So what? I gotta look forward to the Lexi show coming soon.
Oh yeah, baby.
Okay, well, that means I would have to do more work editing. So I'm gonna need you to learn how to do editing programs and all that, so I don't have to do that. Then again, your show won't be uncensored, so that's kind of good.
Yeah. And do you know what my daddy does all the time?
What do I do?
He just works. But for the nice being, he gets me toys.
I do work all the time. That's what I have to do. I'm constantly working on the podcast and everything. And, yeah, I do get you toys. Speaking of, this seems pretty one-sided. I'm always the one buying toys and everything. When are you going to give me something?
I'm going to get you something the best on your birthday.
So I have to wait an entire, like 4 to 6 months until I can get it.
You're gonna get a Walking Dead figure and some Walking Dead figures and some fingernail paint and some earrings and then some new headphones and then a blanket and then a new bed.
This sounds like stuff I do not want. However, though, speaking of The Walking Dead
and my attitude.
and your attitude, well, I get that for free all year round anyway. So nothing really big on that. However, speaking of The Walking Dead, you've been watching The Walking Dead with me. What do you think? What's going on? What do you think about what's going on?
It's amazing, and I love The Walking Dead. My favorite characters are Emily, Kenny, Michonne, and Little Boy.
Okay, for those out there who don't know, Little Boy is Carl, but however, I do have to clarify, Emily Kinney's dead on the show. She's not in the show anymore. Michonne is, though, and of course Little Boy Carl is. You were literally hopping up and down. What can I help you with?
I was Little Boy in the commercial. Do you guys see that?
Well, I don't think they see it. Well, they definitely can't see it on the podcast. However, speaking of that, we've talked about it, me and Dave, a couple times on the show before. We did shoot a commercial for Walking Dead Haralson back in February when we were down doing press for Days of the Dead Atlanta. And Lexi did play Carl, which she did a great job. The commercial is online. Why don't you talk a little bit about that experience for those who haven't seen it yet? What did you do? What was it like? Spill the details.
Yeah. Well, it was great, and I love it. What did I do? I was walking on these things that look like poles, and somebody put it like little zombie feet and foot, and then I was going in the back of it.
Yes, I need you to calm down. Guys, if you can't hear that or can't notice why her audio may be going a little in and out, she's literally getting so excited at the idea of describing that she's mimicking her actions and walking and running right here. She is just a huge ball of energy, which, speaking of, I need you to give me some of that energy, okay? Yeah. You need to stop hoarding all of that energy because I could totally, have this podcast done in 15 minutes every week if I had just a tenth of the energy that you have.
Well, this is a great thing to do this interview. I love it. Do you guys know what my favorite couch bed is? Frozen.
That is your favorite couch bed. Then again, that's the couch bed that you own, so I would hope that's your favorite, because if it wasn't, then I did a horrible job picking it out.
It's my throne, and my favorite movie is Frozen and Trolls and Moana.
Frozen and Trolls and Moana. Care to add anything else?
And my favorite cartoon is Paw Patrol and SpongeBob.
Oh, no. Stop lying right there. We know. Actually, I know that SpongeBob, you were just talking the other day how you hate SpongeBob. And I can't even recall the last time you watched Paw Patrol. So that is a bold-faced lie that you were telling our audience right now.
The last time I watched Paw Patrol is at my mom's house.
Yeah.
And my favorite character in it is Sky and Everest.
So you like the girl dogs?
Yes.
Of course you do. You like the girl everything.
I like the girl dogs and one of the boy dogs, Marshall, because he's so clumsy like me.
You are very clumsy. We could almost have an entire podcast just based off of the times that you've been clumsy and knocked stuff down. I've got whole highlight reels of when we shot Best Friends a long time ago of you just messing stuff up. But that's you. You're definitely a chip off the old block on that case, because I'm pretty clumsy myself.
I need to go glasses. I want pink glasses. You know, guys, I like pink and blue. And my favorite character in Suicide Squad is Harley Quinn.
Yes, and for those who weren't aware, which you should be, actually, I don't even know if I talked about it on the podcast, but on Halloween, Lexi was Harley Quinn, and she had the bat and the shirt and everything, and she rocked that look. Of course, being a dad, I did make it a little less risque. She did have long pants on instead of panties that said property of Mr. J. But, it is what it is. It's the dad life.
Well, guess what, guys? On Halloween, my aunt dressed up as the same thing.
Yes, you were speaking of your Aunt Megan, who I've never mentioned on the show, and will probably never mention again, but yes, there's a shout-out for her. Now, what we're going to do next, this will be a shorter podcast, as you're probably aware of at this point. We are going to introduce our interview coming up next. Now you weren't a part of this interview. You weren't even here when I did it. But this is me and Dave Sheridan, because so technically it still is Dave and Creech as well. We got to interview Tom Green. He's got a upcoming horror film. I guess you could say horror film / psychological thriller named Bethany. And it's really good. I got a screener they sent me. It's a phenomenal film. It's not your typical indie horror. It's actually really, really good, and it comes out April 7th, so I highly suggest you check it out when it's released. And until then, we're going to talk a little bit with Tom about not only Bethany, but he does stand-up, and he also, as you know, from the Tom Green Show, Road Trip, all of those countless movies from the 2000s that have now developed cult followings. We're going to chat everything with Tom Green to really sum it up. So, without further ado, let's listen to that interview with Tom Green.
Tom Green.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, how are you? What's going on?
Nothing much. How are you, sir?
Very good, very good. This is some fancy call-in system. Pretty neat.
Yes, sir. You were with, my name's Creech, and we've got Dave Sheridan on the line as well.
Okay.
Tom Green, how are you?
Cool. Good, very good. Now, sorry, I've been running around, and I'm hoping my battery doesn't die on my phone right now, but I'm heading towards my charger as we speak. But let's go ahead. Let's jump into it. Thanks for having me on.
No, you came on because we're going to talk about, you have a new film coming out called Bethany.
Yes, that's right. It's my first horror movie. It's really scary.
What made you want to get into horror? What, because of Zach or James just called you and said, you want to do this? Or what, how'd that all happen?
That's exactly what happened. Yeah, I actually am afraid of horror movies. I rarely watch them. They scare me. I've never watched horror movies. Growing up, I was afraid of horror movies. I was always into comedy, and that was sort of, what I love. But I did enjoy doing this a lot. And it's not scary when you're actually acting in the movie because you're on set. And although I'll tell you, it was a little scary. I mean, you do feel the tension in the scenes, even when you're acting in the movie and performing these characters with these characters. It's very intense. But I know the movie is going to be really, really scary to watch.
Yeah, Creech, you watched it, right?
I did, yes. Yes.
I haven't seen the movie yet myself. You watched it, Creech? Yeah, I only saw some of my scenes when I was doing a dialogue recording in the editing room. So, were you scared?
Yeah. They sent me a press screening. I actually had to turn away a couple of times, and this is like a grizzled, I watch all the horror movies, and it was really messed up. It was great. But even I had to turn my eyes sometimes. It's phenomenal.
How was my part? I mean, I haven't seen the movie yet. Was my part good? How did you like me?
You were pretty great as well. Actually, everybody gave pretty strong performances in it.
Okay,
and
good. I like to hear that.
Yeah. I'll cut.
It it was fun playing like a serious character, a psychiatrist in a very serious and intense environment.
So yeah, what did you have to do any preparation to play Bethany? I mean, it's a girl, right? And so you had to play a girl. How did this all work out?
No, I don't play a girl. No, I'm not Bethany in the movie. The name of the movie is Bethany, but I play Dr. Brown, who is a doctor who is coming to counsel the couple who are being haunted by Bethany.
So you're the doctor and Bethany, and you haunt her?
Yeah, let's go with that. Something like that.
Yeah, you know I was fucking with you. Hey, so you played Bethany, right? All right.
Yeah,
I saw the trailer. Hey, Tom, I saw the trailer. I don't know if you were in the trailer because it goes, the way the trailers are cut, everything's so fast and cutty, but it was the trailer's fucking scary, and there's a part where her face melts. It was, you obviously didn't see it because you haven't seen the film, and you probably weren't there when they shot her face melting, but Creech, you remember that part where her face melts?
Yeah, well, I saw the trailers. I have seen the trailer, so it was, every good horror movie that I've ever known has a nice face melting scene. You really need a good face melting scene.
Yeah, if you don't have a face melting scene, you might as well not even be in the genre. You know what I'm saying? You're barely in it if you don't.
I said to James when he was making the movie, "Can you melt my face too?" He said, "No, your face doesn't melt. Something else happens to you." I said, "Okay, well, that's fine." All right. I don't want to give away anything, but let's just say my character has some shocking things happen to him as well.
Yeah. Let's not do any spoiler alerts, but let's go back to your relationship with. So, are you friends with both guys, or were you friends with Zach first? Because I'm sure you already. Zach. Who doesn't know Zach? Zach bounces around. I mean, the guy has no energy, right? Zach Ward's a guy with no energy. Or did you meet? Were you friends with James beforehand too?
You know what? I met them both when they asked me to do this film, and I was super, excited to be asked. And it's the first time I'd worked with either of them. And Zach is Canadian, so we were able to, bond over Canadianness. Us Canadians, we stick together in Hollywood. And it was great time making the movie, and I really was really happy to be on it. I can't wait to see it. I'm going to actually have to watch a horror movie when it comes up. And, when I was a kid growing up, all my friends were watching Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. And I'd say, you guys go ahead. I'm going to go skateboarding, man. I can't watch this.
Right. And nothing against nothing, but honestly, if you went and sat and watched Friday the 13th right now, or Nightmare is a pretty much it's pretty damn scary. But Friday, the guy's wearing a hockey mask, and you being from Canada, it's like, come on, it's in the middle of summer, it's not hockey season, cut it out, right? But these new movies.
When you're 8 years old, it was scary.
It kind of ruins hockey at the same time, right? I mean,
no, it didn't ruin hockey. It made hockey better. Made hockey.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I like playing spring hockey on the pond. Come on, get fucking ballsy, kid.
Oh yeah. We get her done there, bud. Oh, yeah, we get her done up in Canada there, bud.
But there definitely is like a new, and James is one of the guys. He's one of these new breed of horror directors. Like, there's a genre, and this falls under that new genre, where it's kind of more, I wouldn't say paranormal, but it's like thrillery and sort of dark and twisty, and it's not that kind of guy busting through a wall wearing like a ski mask and a chainsaw,
Yeah, no, it's I think that I'm very excited for James that the movie's getting such great response. He's such a great director. He's such a good guy, and it's incredible when and I always like to support people when they're an auteur creating something from scratch, seeing it through from beginning to end. That's what great comedy and music and filmmaking is all about. So it's very inspiring, and I know what James is going to go on to do really, really big things, and I just hope that he remembers me when he makes his next huge movie, because it was a lot of fun working with him.
What if he doesn't remember you and he's making a huge movie? Would you then say fuck James at that point, or what would that be like?
Yeah, then I'd say fuck James at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can hit us up to say delete everything I ever say. Take that podcast down. He didn't put me in the big movie. I'm just tracking down.
At that point, when James doesn't remember me, I'll say fuck James and fuck your fucking podcast.
Yeah. You like track down everybody that you interviewed with, being like saying all these great things about him. Like, hey, remember 4 years ago? And well, he's big now. He's doing that Terminator 7 movie, and yeah, can you take that down off your site?
Yeah, no, look, in all seriousness, though, I really am happy for him. He's a great guy, and he deserves success in the world.
Well, jumping back on just your first horror movie, per se, but, just even, look, horror is it's a limb or an arm of drama. Like you said, at least this version, this is a dramatic horror movie. How much drama have you done, just in general? Because you're primarily known as a comedian. So,
well, comedy is really analyzing life and the absurdities and the negative aspects of life and trying to make it funny. So comedians are always, traditionally transition pretty good over into dramatic roles. This is the first time I've really done something this serious, but I really enjoyed it. When I do stand-up, I get up on stage every night. I'm performing every night. I'm talking about very dark subjects, but then you flip it on its head at the end and make it funny. Well, here we're addressing very dark subjects, and we're just keeping them very dark subjects. So, I enjoyed it a lot. I feel like I'm very in tune with my dark side, and it was fun to be able to do. I'd love to do more of it.
Well, that's a good question. I'm picturing Tom Green on set, doing this dark drama, a horror movie. But your natural instinct is, like you said with your stand-up, you have some dark topics and you're turning them for comedic purposes. But now you're on set, you're Tom Green. 80% of the time you're Tom Green. So, is it sort of like, did you feel like you're sort of not on camera, but it was probably a fun, I've done some dramas and stuff myself, and I always find it's sort of like, those are actually some of the funner sets because everyone's serious when they're on front of the camera, so therefore, as soon as it's set, now you're cracking jokes about what you just did, or you're cutting the tension a little bit, so.
I always like to have fun with everybody I'm with when I'm working and in life. But also, people who meet me, who've never met me before, who know my shows or my movies like Freddy Got Fingered, which are completely crazy things that I've done on my shows over the years. High energy, ridiculous, silly things. I'm not like that in my day-to-day life. I'm a little bit more of a calm person, to be honest with you. I used to be a little more hyper when I was a teenager, but I'm a 45-year-old guy now. I'm a pretty relaxed person on set, and when you're doing a movie with this kind of intensity, I don't like to be, with the second the director yells cut, I'm not running around like a chicken with my head cut off, I'm cracking jokes. I'm trying to sort of remain in the little bit of the energy of the scene we're trying to capture, so that we can kind of really nail it when we're filming. So it was a lot of fun doing it, it was a fun set to be on too. It was really cool.
Yeah, and so were you nervous at all, like on your first day of showing up, going, oh man, like these guys, like James has done tons of horror movies, and was there any kind of like I don't know, because you're a veteran of comedy, so you're not going to be those butterflies have gone on that side, but was there sort of like, oh, this is interesting because this is it's like that new girlfriend type of thing. Was there anything like that?
Look, I always say that anytime I do anything that is important to me and I don't get nervous, then I'm probably going to screw it up, Like, nerves really help drive a performance, and it's about knowing how to channel those nerves and that energy into the performance as opposed to into screwing up the performance. So I get nervous before I go on stage doing stand-up. I get nervous, even though I do it, 500 nights a year or whatever. I go on stage. I'm touring constantly. So I get nervous every night. And that's a good thing. And it makes your mind sort of think about what you have to do and process all the information that you have to go through in your head in order to deliver the performance you want to deliver. And so, yeah, I always had some healthy nerves coming into the set. You want to do a good job. But it wasn't an abnormal amount of nervousness. You got to keep in mind, like, when I made any movie, the comedy comes from serious situations. So even in a movie like Road Trip, even though the plot is completely absurd and silly, guy sent a sex tape to his girlfriend. He sent it to, they don't know if it's in Austin or Boston, and I'm trying to feed snake to a mouse or whatever, a mouse to a snake, and it's all these silly things happening. The character is still really serious about what he's doing. So, you have to bring that same kind of intensity to a comedy performance that you bring to a serious performance. So in a lot of ways, it's not really that much different.
Right. Yeah. I like how you said you do stand-up comedy 500 nights a year.
500 nights a year. Absolutely.
You've literally almost doubled the amount of nights available. I mean, that's
that's how much. Well, that's how much I do stand-up. Well, in all seriousness, I do, because I often do 2 shows a night. So I do probably about 500 shows a year is what I meant to say.
That's true. And you're about to do some stand-up in the next month, right? You're about to get back on some dates?
Yeah, I'm doing a European tour this June and May. I'm actually going to be performing in Israel for the very first time. In Tel Aviv, and then I'm performing all throughout England, Scotland, Ireland, Amsterdam, Sweden, Norway, and Denmark. And I'm very excited about that tour. It's going to be in May and June. Before then, I've got shows in Portland and Phoenix, Arizona, Tucson, Arizona, and New York City at Caroline's. And this Saturday night, I'm in Los Angeles at the Comedy Store and at the Laugh Factory on Saturday night. So I'm going to be doing a couple of shows around town and having some fun here in L.A. So, yeah, I'm having a blast with the stand-up. It's been life-changing for me. I've been touring again pretty much nonstop for the last 7 or 8 years. And
wow.
Since I got back into it, it's been just incredible. I've traveled all around the world. I've performed in Australia. I did USO tours for the military, performed in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I'm meeting amazing people all over the country. So I'm having a blast. Go to my website, tomgreen.com, for tour dates, or you can check out my Instagram and my Twitter at Tom Green Live. Everybody follow me at Tom Green Live and come see one of my shows.
Yeah. Now, have you been to Europe before doing stand-up, or is this the first time on that side of things?
I've been to Europe. I've performed in London, England, and I performed at the Edinburgh Comedy Festival in Scotland for 14 nights. But I have not done a full tour of Europe like this, so I'm excited about it.
Do they have, I think we're all very familiar with the stand-up clubs in America here. Is Europe, do they have those, yucks and stuff like that? Or is it like theaters or something, or are they all festival type things? How does all that work?
Theaters, mostly theaters. Yeah, they also festivals sometimes. Like when I perform in Australia, I play theaters. At the festivals. They have different venues and all sorts of different venues, but I mostly play theaters and comedy clubs in America. I love playing comedy clubs, though. I love the intimacy of it, and I love the relaxed atmosphere of a comedy club. People are drinking and eating, and gets a little crazy in there. So So, but I play all over different types of places, and I'm having a great time.
Yeah, and then you said I got back into it, and you said you've been doing it for steady now for 7 or 8 years. How long were you not doing it for? Like, did you do it when you were like 18 and 19, and then you got?
Well, you know, I did stand up off and on since I was 15 years old. So I've been doing stand up for 30 years now, which is crazy. But I guess I'd say about 8 years ago, I decided, listen, I want to do this full time. I want to focus on it. I started touring, and so I've been essentially on a nonstop world tour since I started. I'm very fortunate, you know, that MTV picked up my show off of a public access station when I was in my 20s and put it on TV all around the world, and led to some movies like Freddy Got Fingered and Road Trip, which have really cool cult followings all around the world. So I'm very fortunate that I'm able to do what I do, and I have great fans who followed all of my web shows and my podcasts and things that I've done, the old Tom Green shows, movies on the internet. So I'm very fortunate to be able to do what I do and be able to perform as much as I perform and really hone my craft. You know, I'm always trying to write new jokes and come up with new ideas. And with the world being such a crazy place right now, it's a great time to be doing stand-up because, you know, if you're frustrated about things in your life or in the world, you can get up on stage and you can vent about it every night. So,
you know, I think it's like one thing to be like, it's a perfect stage for an American comedian in America because you know how we feel. But when you go over to like these other countries, and I feel like, man, the rest of the world must be like laughing at us in a weird way. Like I think that we look. Well, you're Canadian, so what the hell do you care? But I just feel like after this election, I feel like
I was going to say who you call an American.
Yeah,
but,
that's right.
Yeah, I'm Canadian, and I think that helps me, actually. It certainly helps me performing internationally because I do have a perspective that is different, and I am an outsider looking in at America, although I've lived in America for 17 years, and I love America. I also happen to know the president, Donald Trump. He fired me on The Celebrity Apprentice. So I know
oh, my God. I forgot about that. What season?
I know the president, so that kind of gives me a unique perspective as well. And I talk about my experiences on The Celebrity Apprentice and the absurdity of the fact that he has become the president. I do find it absurd. So it's interesting, yeah.
That's so funny that you literally sat across from the guy. At that time, you would never go, hey, I'm sitting across from the guy that's going to be a president. I'm on a fucking reality show, right? And now the fucking guy's in the Oval Office, and you know, it's sort of like you might have a second chance. He fired you once, but you know what I mean? You might get a cabinet position somewhere down the road, right? Ambassador to Canada. I would shoot for it, man.
I'd like to get a cabinet position so I could fire him.
Yeah. You fired. That would be funny because the guy that got fired is most likely going to be impeached at some point. I mean, if you spout off enough like he's doing, he's going to step in something that's just going to be like that. Oh, no, now you're impeached. You know what I mean? They're just waiting for some legal aspect to grab him on. I don't think he's going to last long. But anyway,
we'll see what happens. I don't like to jump into detail with political stuff because I like to have fun. I like all my friends in Florida and Alabama to have fun when they come to my shows also. So I stay non-political in my stand-up set, you know.
Yeah, that's good.
Story. But, you know, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you having me on the show today. And, you know, I'm really excited about Bethany, and it's going to be a really cool movie. I want everyone to check it out. And please tell your listeners to go follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Green Live and add me on Facebook, Tom Green on Facebook, and I'll see you on the web.
Hey, what are the dates again for the Bethany thing? You know?
For which, sorry?
What are the dates for Bethany, like when it's available on VOD and stuff again?
You know, I really don't know, but I'm looking.
I believe it's
coming out soon.
Yeah, I believe it's April 7th.
April 7th. So it's like 3 weeks. Yeah, all right. Hey, really quick. I live in North Carolina, right? I'm like in Charlotte, where Concord is like 20 minutes from here, and I'm pretty sure you saw that thing where the kid got arrested for not returning Freddy Got Fingered after I don't know, 10 years or something.
Absolutely, yeah, I saw that. I called him. I spoke to him. I offered to pay his fine. Fortunately for him, the charges were dropped, so he did not have to pay a fine. But what a hilarious story. Kid rents Freddy Got Fingered in the year 2001, gets pulled over for a broken tail light, and the cop arrests him and charges him with theft because he failed to return his videotape 15 years ago. That's when you see how bureaucracy is completely out of control, you know. Police officer goes back, looks on his computer, sees that a guy has an outstanding warrant for a videotape that he didn't deliver 15 years ago, and he gets charged. But you know what? People need to, step out of the bureaucratic process sometimes and just make a conscious, smart decision. I thought that was a silly situation. I felt bad for the guy. I heard about it on Twitter. I reached out to him, offered to pay his fine, had a good laugh talking to him about it, and I'm so glad that he didn't get in any trouble.
What if the reason the cop arrested him was because he held him personal because that cop wanted to watch Freddy Got Fingered for years, and it was never returned, and he was like, this is the douchebag that never returned it, and for 4 years I was going to that video store trying to get Freddy Got Fingered.
Yeah, I know. Well, you know what? It's all done now. It's all good now. By the way, I'm driving right now, and I'm driving into a canyon in Los Angeles. My phone might cut out, so I just want to say, hey, thank you so much, guys, in case that happens. I appreciated being on the show, and it was great talking to you guys.
All right, guys, we are back, and thankfully, Lexi didn't hear that interview because there was plenty of bad words uttered on that interview. So, thankfully, you missed out on that.
Guys, you know who knows? You know who is my name, too? Alexis that lives next door. Bye.
You are speaking in tongues and code right now. Yes, you have a neighbor that's also named Alexis. And your name is Alexis. But come on, little girl, I need you to focus.
We're like cousins.
You're not cousins. You're literally not related at all. You just have the same name. Just because you have the same name does not mean you are actually family. Because if that were the case, I'd be related to quite a few people myself. Dave, probably not so much.
Well, that is kind of funny.
I guess it's a little bit funny. But we are going to wrap it up here. Lexi is already starting to wonder. So we're going to get ready to call it quits for this podcast. What would you like to say to your listeners, to your fans, to anybody out there, Lexi? Since this is your first time on the show, your chance to say goodbye to them, what do you want to say?
Thank you. Bye. I love you.
Thank you. Bye. I love you. Well, I guess I can't really top that one either myself. So, that's going to wrap it up. We have got another episode coming out this week or maybe next. We're going to try to catch up with doing some more. But I know our next guest is going to be James Cullen-Breswick. He's actually the director of Bethany. So we are actually going to have both of them, technically 2 back-to-back weeks of Bethany, but we really love this movie, and we want to promote it and make sure that it gets the attention that it deserves. So next week, this week, whenever, make sure you keep on the lookout for our interview with James Cullen-Breswick, director of Bethany. Thank you once again to Tom Green for coming on the show to talk Bethany and everything else. And that's going to be it, guys. We will talk to you next week.
Shut up and sit down.
Thank you for listening to the Dave and Creech Show. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of Dave and CJ. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of Creech Creative Productions or any of its affiliates.